don't hire people for titles. Hire people for roles that need to be filled, because a title will cost you more than a role. A title will cost you more than a role. You'll pay for a title. A title comes with a specific salary. A role doesn't. You can negotiate a role and shift that into a title. If you come in at the title, that title has a demand, and now you gotta try to hope that that person believes in the vision because they know what their title's supposed to get paid.
Yo, Trap, loving life, family. Appreciate you and the team for all you do. My question is, for those of us that are looking to scale or even build large-scale businesses, can you name the positions that you've hired for the team and their responsibilities? Thank you.
So we have a few different positions. So right now I have a director of operations. But first let me say this, every organization has different needs and when you put them there, depending on what you need. So I have director of operations. So director of operations is someone who is responsible for understanding all the operations that go on in the company. His responsibility is to make sure that everybody understands the way that everybody is operating, and that they are operating efficiently. I have a chief of staff. Her job requires her to understand everyone who is in the company, making sure everyone is aligned with our mission, vision, and core values. Make sure everyone is operating at a high standard, but to also make sure that I am free of miscellaneous tasks that I shouldn't be doing. And that's probably the hardest thing for her to do. I think getting the people right is cool, but getting me right, I probably got to give her a raise just for that. And we have a whole production team. I have a CFO, a fractional CFO that I'm about to put a financial controller under her. So the controller will be in-house controlling all the AP, payroll, bills, financial reports, doing a performer, forecasting, and then she'll report to the CFO, which then will look at the business from a higher level. We have a general counsel. We had a general counsel. We're gonna get another one, or get her back on board, one of the two. And that's the person that allows me to look at the business from a different lens and helps me make right decisions to put us in the right place. There's so many other things you can do, man. There's so many other positions we're gonna need. Probably gonna need a CTO, which is probably gonna be a chief technology officer, somebody that's just gonna be in full control of all of the technology that we're doing and building. They will be responsible for making sure we are up to par from a technology perspective. Building out the media team, there's so many different components that come with that because the media team is broken down into different phases. There's like right now, Jose is at the forefront of the live shows, Trapping Tuesdays, but he also ties into, camera work and making sure the camera team is set up and making sure the people in the back set up. So he does so many different things. Then you got the content side, which may seem the same, but it's different. Steve, he making sure the YouTubes are ran and making sure the content and making sure they can distribute, where I can just come shoot the content and then he gets it and packages it and distributes it and grows it. And then you're gonna need a cybersecurity person because as you enter this era, you know, that's critical. And then on the media side, you can get into that a little more. You can get a director of brand and marketing, somebody who probably has built a $100-200 million, and they just oversee what everybody else doing and say, hey, let's pivot this a little bit. Let's do a little bit of this. They may help with storytelling. They may help with some rollouts. Then you probably got to get a CMO. That way you can get out your brain. You have somebody that's just helping you work on marketing. So they looking at all the ads you're doing. They're looking at all the way that you putting your content out. They'll probably collaborate with the media side and say, hey, let's tell this story a little bit different. Let's say this a little bit different. They'll get into the emails with you. They'll get into, you know, then you may have I have somebody that's over the customer experience. So that person is now Elise. She's looking at how the emails go out. What are the questions that people are asking? She'll then take that information and talk to Ms. April, my chief of staff, and my operations guy to say, hey, here's some of the things that we have. And from a consumer perspective, there's the problems that they're having. You got to get an HR person that we have in and out of, because, you know, you hire people, you got to hire them a certain way. You got to fire them a certain way. You got to be in what's called compliance. You got to operate in that. You got to make sure that code of conduct is together. So when you building a company, man, there's so many different rabbit holes you can go in. I personally probably need an executive assistant or a freaking personal assistant, because I can take some weight off of my chief of staff so they can be on the same page. So there's so many things you got to do, bro, but every company needs different needs at different times. But what I will say is, out the gate, if you can put, depending on how, like, I didn't need a chief of staff until I got to this level. So that's probably not what you need. So you probably need, like, an operations person, a finance person. That's probably your first two needs. One, you're going to need somebody to help you get your operations together, depending on, you know, what you got. And you're going to need a finance person because you need to make sure your money together. One of the biggest issues that you're going to have as an entrepreneur is money. How do I know that? If it's not even money in your business, it's money you paying Uncle Sam. So imagine running your business and then he hit you with $1 million tax bill. But you ain't know you had it because you've been pouring into your business, so you ain't had the money put up. So now you're $1 million in the hole. Now you're trying to pay him in increments, and guess what? When you pay him in increments, guess what? It's interest on those increments. So now you paying him interest on those increments, and then guess what? Next year come around, if you ain't pay that off, guess what? He glad that you paying him in increments. As a matter of fact, he love that you paying him in increments because he get to just stack on top of you. He get to put the next bill. And so now you start asking yourself, shit, I don't even want to make $1 million no more. But now you got to make $1 million because you got to pay him that $1 million that you owe him already, and you got to pay him on top of this one. So now he got you in the catch-22. Now you like, I don't even want to be an entrepreneur no more, but you got to keep being an entrepreneur because the paycheck got to take care of your life. So you got to get your money right. You know what I'm saying? And so depending on where you at in your journey, and trust me, I've hired people and realized I didn't need that at the time. Right? Like, oh, I don't probably need this right now, you know. That's going to be essential. And another thing that I would say is, you know, don't hire people for titles. Hire people for roles that need to be filled. Because a title will cost you more than a role. A title will cost you more than a role. You'll pay for a title. A title comes with a specific salary. A role doesn't. You can negotiate a role and shift that into a title. if you come in at the title, that title has a demand, and now you gotta try to hope that that person believes in the vision because they know what their title's supposed to get paid. So if you hire somebody at this title, they gonna come in saying, yup, based on this market, this is what this title supposed to get bare minimum, but then based on my experience and what I can bring to you, I'm probably gonna require this. And so you gotta step back and say, okay, whew, that's a lot, but you need the role. So now you gotta get really good at saying, here's my vision. Can I take your great experience and this title and get you for this, but then I can compensate you here as we do this. Some great people who believe in the vision to do that. Some other people like, I don't care about your vision, I want my check, dog. So hire for a role rather than a title, because you can create the role and then build the role up to the title, if that makes sense. So, you know, you keep learning entrepreneurship as you go, man. You know, I started off as a hustler, dog. Straight out the street, bro.